was that? Okay. Let me start the... Alright, it's still on, right? The screen share?
Yep.
Okay. So, early lane, really not much to talk about here. You should be just focusing on CS because he just kind of... He has the out push if he wants to. You skill Q to poke him because he chooses not to use Q until like a minute into the lane and just like hits Q on like absolutely nothing. It's actually pretty funny. I think he just like... he shoots it here and gets like half a tick. No, he actually gets nothing. He gets like half a tick on you and then like nothing on the mains at all. So yeah, he doesn't really do anything. Basically, have you watched some of my like mid lane coachings or like mid lane like commentaries or anything?
I haven't, no.
Okay, so basically, when you're playing a champion that doesn't want to roam, or even sometimes if you're playing a champion that wants to roam, but you're not in a condition to roam, like either because like HP or like you're too far behind, or like you don't have like mana, you don't have ulti or something, you basically want to keep the wave. Let me pull out my pen. You basically want to keep the wave in a position where it's scary for them to farm, and you also can't get ganked, which is basically like right here. So you have it close here, but like not exactly like where. Like you want like basically you want like his cannon like where your range minions are right now. Because basically that's the spot where you're chilling like right here, and if a gank comes from here or like down here or even like right here or like right here, it's not gonna work basically. Like the Galio would have to like hit you with a full combo like through the wave, and then the Xin Zhao would probably have to just like flash on you. Like there's some exceptions, like Zac just like kills you from like buttfuck nowhere, like out here. But like aside from that, like you just don't die to ganks when you're chilling right here. And so you basically you just want the lane here at all times. And basically how you do that is like when you're against someone who pushes like this Galio, like outside of level 1, like once he starts doing this to the wave, it's really easy to manipulate the wave. You basically just let it come in like here, and then you just wait and you last hit. So you kind of, it seems like you kind of have like a half idea of it because you do let him just like come and bring the wave in here, but like every single time you bring it in here, you just start pushing back because like it seems like you feel uncomfortable with the wave here or whatever. But like for the most part, like you just want it here. Like he can't roam this early. Like once it's later in the game and like if your lanes are like very active like they were this game, then it's a bit more acceptable because you just want to not let him roam, so you just counter push. But for early on in the game, you just kind of want the wave chilling there, and whenever he doesn't have ulti and he can't roam, you just want the wave chilling there too. Just so you basically like never have to feel afraid. And you never really were afraid in this lane because you kept it pretty close. Like I'd say for like the majority of the lane phase, the lane was like somewhere here. Like it was like on your side, but not so far on your side that you were like ungankable, which is basically like where you want it. Because on top of that, when you're in a matchup like this where he's melee, when the wave is in the position where it's just like right here, like suddenly becomes really awkward, right? Because your minions end up being like, your whole wave is like here, where your like casters are right now. And if he ever wants to farm, he has to use Q, and then the minions that don't die to Q are just going to get killed by his minions because he can't walk up on you, right? Because if you're right here, next to your turret, and he walks right here to CS, what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
You're just gonna E him, and then he's like, all right, I made that mistake. I'm never walking up for farm again. And then you just consistently have pressure on him, and he can't do anything. And then all you really need to be afraid of is just like him roaming. But when he doesn't have ulti, his roams are pretty lackluster. And that's honestly like the real big thing from this game. Like aside from that, like rotations are like pretty much fine. Like you're a mid lane mage instead of an assassin, so you just kind of sit mid and get priority. Like mechanics were for the most part fine. Like you missed a lot of Qs, but like that's just kind of like the nature of the champ. Like you throw like 40 million Qs, you only need to hit 3. So if you miss like the other like 30 million, it doesn't really matter. Ultis for the most part were fine and stuff. Nothing really to harp on there. There's like a really awkward exchange like in their jungle where you're like baiting a Vel'Koz Q that or not a Vel'Koz Q, a Kench Q that just never came. Which is like whatever, it's kind of a meme. Good situational awareness there. And there's not too much to talk about there. The main thing was just like the lane positioning. You could have abused him a bit more than you did. Like, don't get me wrong, like you destroyed this lane. Like you were up like 60 CS on this dude and some kills. The big main things were like the awareness was definitely a bit better this game. Like I could see like you were definitely like paying attention to it. Like this one, I didn't even have to tell you. You're just like watching straight away that the Vi was fighting. You came. On this note, you're still a bit too hesitant with the ghost, even though I pointed out during the game. Like,
Yep.
there's some situations, like mainly like I was having to tell you, and then like this one was like the big one where like the Vi is just like fighting them here, and like ends up the game like if you ghosted here, this play is like completely different because you would have made it so much earlier. You just ghosted all the
Yeah.
way down here.
I
And that's
definitely thought she was gonna be able to get him. That's why I didn't want to ghost
yeah,
down.
yeah, that's why that one's a bit more understandable. It's just like it's just situations like that where it's like you don't really lose anything from using the ghost. Like, because at the end of the day, like, how are you gonna die to a gank? Like, okay, first off, you never want to die to a gank. You should never die to a gank if you're maintaining lane position properly, which is really easy against Galio because 2 CS he kind of has to push the wave.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is like if you do end up dying to a gank, your ghost does like absolutely nothing to save you because the way you die to a gank is you get hit by a Galio knockup in the taunt and then Zin's out like 2 shots you, and like ghosting there does absolutely nothing for you because you're just CC'd until you're dead. So like not having the ghost up for like a gank shouldn't be like a concern of yours because like even if you do have ghost up, you're fucking dead for the most part. If you die to any gank that you would have saved you if you had ghost, you probably were just not in the right position anyway.
Yeah.
Flash is a different story, obviously, so that's why you don't like just like willy-nilly use it. Longer cooldown gets you out of ganks and stuff, but like Ghost, you don't give a fuck about your Ghost cooldown. You see a fight, like you see even like a chance that you can get to a fight and like turn it, you just like fuck yeah, we ghosting in 3-minute cooldown, don't give a fuck. That's about it. The thing build and everything was fine. Really not much else. Like bought control wards. Placement, you seemed a little bit unconfident, but like basically you just want it in a spot so you always have a side to cheat to basically, because the thing is like in this elo, if you maintain wave pressure, if you maintain wave position properly and you cheat to a side like every time, that's like the other thing I guess I noticed, like you don't it seems you're a bit like unfamiliar with the cheating to a side kind of thing, like I kind of had to like remind you and stuff. That's just something you just want to get into the habit of. Just like whenever you know they started on one side, you hug the other, and then whenever you have a vision on a side, you just hug on it. And if you don't have vision on either side, you kind of play towards the middle, a little bit slanted to the side your jungler's on if your jungler's useful. If your jungler's too far behind, then you just play back. But the thing is, like, if you have the wave in the spot, like at all points, like you don't even really need to cheat to a side because you're just virtually ungankable, and it's really hard for them to do anything. Because the thing is, like, even against a ranged champion, like, let's just say it's like reversed, right? And you're the Galio here, and that's just like literally just like it's just reversed. You're Galio and he's Vel'Koz, and the wave is right here. Even if he's like Vel'Koz and you're Galio, he doesn't want to be like this far up, right? Because he can just get ganked, and you can just set it up at any point. Like just having the wave here is just like so strong because it makes the other laner really uneasy about getting ganked and stepping up for CS because it's so close to your turret and so far on your side of the map. And on top of that, like it's got the added benefit of just making you like virtually ungankable because you're just way too close to turret, and most junglers just aren't even gonna bother unless you're like I don't know, like you get ganked by like some dumb shit like an Alistar and he just like puts you out of the turret, or I guess like Lee Sin just like kicks you out of turret. But aside from that, like you can't really get ganked at all, so you just want to be looking to set up the wave here. Like it was good that like you kept bringing it to your side, but then you were just like, nah, I don't really like the wave here. I'm just gonna auto attack a few times and shove it back out to the middle, which is not something you want to do because it's just so much better when it's here. So yeah, really like these games are honestly like pretty solid. Like I'm nitpicking because I need to talk to you about something, but like for the most part, like the things I noticed were just like cheating to the side seems unfamiliar to you. Map vision could definitely be worked on a bit. Whether you want to learn F keys or not, it's up to you, but they are helpful. And lane positioning, but like it's not like the lane positioning isn't like terrible. Like you seem to have like an idea of it. It's just you don't have like it's not like fully fleshed out yet, which is like pretty normal. Like this is gold elo. Like I don't expect you to completely know. Just like oh yeah, always keep the lane here and stuff. Most of it's like laning. Like there are a few things where like I said, like the echo thing where you just like went middle and stuff, but for the most part, like those are like kind of minor. Whenever you play like an assassin that can split push, you just want to be off in the side lane once turrets go down. That's just like a pretty normal thing that you can just implement really quickly. And then like obviously the harder things are just like focusing on like watching your jungler when they get in fights more, and just like being ready to help your jungler if they're entering like if your jungler like enters top river when both junglers start bottom, you can kind of assume that there's usually going to be a fight for scuttle, so you just kind of want to be ready for that and stuff.
Yeah.
And like I said, about like the lane positioning and whatnot. That's about it. You have any questions before we finish up?
Well, what could Galio do to not get stuck in that position if I'm playing like Echo and I'm stuck there? How do I get out?
Basically, like you just spam your range wave clear, and like for both of you it's Q. You just like
Mhm.
fix the wave by like shoving it all. Like you basically just want to kill all the minions so that if he wants to keep freezing it there, he has to tank it. And most like mid lane champions that sort of like really dumb shit like Vladimir like can't like just tank the wave over and over. Like eventually they just run out of HP and they have to let it crash and then the wave resets. And on top of that, like when you're in that position, you just want to use your wave clear spell, disappear in a fog to make them respect that you might be roaming, and then when it comes back up, do it again, and then get the wave into the turret. And then like eventually they're gonna have to give up the freeze because they just can't take the wave that long. And if you're against Vladimir and that's happening, then you fucked up. Yeah. But basically, like if you see that they're doing something like that, then you just want to just like break the freeze by just like hard shoving because the Galio like what he did that got the wave into that position would he like half-heartedly would shove the wave. He would like he Q's here, right? And then he like steps up, autos it, and he's like, all right, minion wave dead. Let me just back the fuck up. And then it's
Yeah.
just like, hello, like the wave is here. And then like the thing is like he has to give it up because he's let himself get poked. Like basically you just don't let yourself get poked to that point, so you can actually just like clear the wave. Because like
Yep.
if you're Echo here, 2 Qs clears the wave, right? And like you can't really get poked because you just throw it from max range and then let it come back and then throw it again, let it come back, and then like Vel'Koz isn't gonna take like 3 waves straight, right? Like and the thing is like even when you're throwing it like from the distance, like you'll probably still get like 4 out of like 6 CS. So you do lose some for the wave, but like eventually like he either has to let it come to the turret and he'll probably miss 1 or 2, or he tanks it so long that you just get a lead in the lane because he just doesn't have the HP to lane.
Makes sense, yeah. And then I sometimes struggle with roaming, like on Assassins. Is there like any tips or tricks or something I should work on
The thing
for that?
about roaming, you play jungle secondary, right?
Yeah.
So roaming you should view it a lot like ganking in the sense that like it's kind of like a bonus. You don't ever want to like sacrifice your lane to roam unless it's like a guaranteed roam and it's a time sensitive roam. So let's say like the mid wave is even, but like bot lane is literally like fighting right then, and if you make you can make it down in time and get a double, but you have to leave the wave. Then you go. But like aside from that, like you just generally want to look for roam timings only when you have the wave push, and then you basically just want to pick the easiest lane, like the lane that's furthest behind, and just go kill that, just to snowball the lead for your lane. You almost never want to go to roam to a lane that's losing because what and usually ends up happening is you're gonna get TP'd on, or like the enemy mid laner can afford to late follow and they'll still end up cleaning you up because you're trying to gank for a lane that's like too far behind. Like you only want to roam when it's beneficial to you usually, and that usually like that basically means after you have the wave push and you don't have to worry about losing creeps for free or anything. Aside from that, you don't want to roam too much because at the end of the day, like the easiest way to carry is just keep your farm high, keep your EXP high, and then just take fights when you have a lead because you haven't been like throwing away like EXP and CS to roam. So every fight you're just strong as long as you're like consistently just like catching waves and stuff.
Mhm.
It's the same thing with like jungling where it's like if you just gank all the time, you fall really far behind if your ganks don't work out, and you don't ever want to do that. You want to be strong by like farming, and then like you don't have to gank as much because you have a higher success rate in your ganks because you only take good ganks and you're strong when you show up every time because you're not wasting your time and you're keeping yourself like top, like you're keeping yourself ahead of the curve. Anything else?
Is there anything you can do when you're an assassin? There's like a Janna, a Shen, and another tank on their team. They just CC you and shield the hell out of your target.
You basically just try to not enter the fight until like cooldowns are blown, or you just come in from a side flank, so it's like really hard for that, or you just split push.
Right.
Like you like the thing about team like the thing about solo queue and just like team fighting in general is that like it's the least consistent thing you can do in solo queue, just because there's like so many more variables. And just to like draw in a little bit, just to give like an example, like so let's say like you're just playing mid lane. Let's say just say this game, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and your Vi comes to gank. So what do you have to take into account? You have to take into account your HP, your mana, your cooldowns, your jungler's HP, mana, cooldowns, items on both of you guys, and then like HP, mana, cooldowns, and like summoner spells and like items of like the enemy laner. So it sounds like a lot, but you can kind of just like condense a lot of that into just like you look at their HP bar, you look at their mana bar, you know what sums they have, and then
Mm-hmm.
you look at their items. So you're like, oh, do they have armor? Do they not? Like, do they have HP items? Whatever. And it sounds like a lot, but honestly, it's like kind of simple. And then you multiply that by 5, and that's a team fight. And obviously, like you have way less control of that because like there's so many more things you have to take into account. Like, do their supports have sums? Do they have exhaust? Does their AD carry have heal? Like, does they have flash? Like, do I have flash? Like, am I warded? It's like you have to take into account so many more things. So it's just like, yeah, like team fighting against like Peel is hard, but like at the same, like the thing is like you try to not make it to that stage, and like you can also kind of like mitigate that by just like taking fights where you only get like flanks off, or just split pushing and just like creating like easier situations. So like yeah, like sometimes like there's no good answer. Like sometimes like they have shit Shen, like Shen, Janna, Peel everywhere, and it's really hard to team fight. And sometimes you just can't team fight. And if you can't get a flank off and you can't split push, then you're just gonna lose, and it sucks. But like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that's just gonna happen, and you just have to accept that. But like if that does end up happening in a game and you're in the game, obviously you don't just say like, "Well, I lose." Like, but all you really can do is like you look for a flank, maybe off TP, maybe off not. Just go through like controls and stuff. Try to catch, I don't know, like because you can one shot like the Jan or something if you get a flank or anything. And then
Yeah.
obviously if you're split pushing, you can just like create a 4v5 or something like that. Um, as long as you're split pushing properly with TP and everything, or maybe you can just kill the guy in the split and your team can like come like just capitalize on that or something. But yeah, there's no like straight up like, oh yeah, if you just like do this, then you just win against like all the peel. Like the peel is like peel for a reason. So
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes they're just gonna be able to do their job and you suck, and it sucks. But yeah, aside from that, like the flank and like split and stuff, like that's about it.
All right. And then, are there like certain champions that should focus on more than others, like playing, or are there some champions that are just not good that I shouldn't play, or should I not worry about that?
I wouldn't play any champion that like has no CC, because I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like any champion like Katarina, like you talked about earlier, I just feel like champs like that are just like inherently less consistent. Because, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, you don't have to like you have to play off your teammates, but you don't want to rely on your teammates. Like obviously you can't just like 1v5 every game, like
Yeah.
unless you're smurfing, which you're not.
Yeah.
So you do have to rely on your teammates to an extent, but you want to cut as much of that out as possible. So you want champions who are like self-sufficient, um, which Katarina is like not really. You're just like like when you play Katarina, you're like completely reliant on the enemy team to like make mistakes, and you also kind of have to play this like suboptimal playstyle that doesn't translate to other champs, because the way Katarina works is like one, like okay, I don't know how many times you solo kill people in lane as Katarina. For one, it really shouldn't happen. But the other thing is like you basically have to do like the opposite of what I was talking about earlier, where you kind of just like look out for yourself in the sense that like you just like clear your waves in roam, because like your champion is like ass at clearing waves from a distance, like a Vel'Koz or an Echo, where you can just
Mm-hmm.
like drop 2 spells on the wave, it's out, it's dead, you just roam, peace out. Whereas like Katarina, you have a lot of problems doing that, and you're way more reliant on your roams, because if you have 150 CS at 15 minutes and 0 kills on Katarina, you're probably like pretty worthless compared to like a Vel'Koz. Okay, not I wouldn't say worthless, but like it's so much harder for you to do things because you can't like set up CC or anything for like a gank or anything, and you're pretty much just completely reliant on just like capitalizing off like enemy mistakes, like inside lanes, because it's so much harder for you to actually just like solo kill anyone unless they like horrifically misplay in lane, because you actually can't, you don't have like CC, all you have is just like targeted or basically targeted abilities. So I just tell people to stay away from champions that have like high, like if you haven't already like played them enough, then I tell people to stay away from like high difficulty mechanic wise champions, so you can just focus on like playing the game properly instead of having to focus on like your champion's mechanics. And champions that just like aren't consistent, just like straight up like just weren't consistent. Like I don't know how else to explain that really.
Yeah. And then what about Zed? Zed doesn't have any CC either. Is he not a good one?
I wouldn't play him.
No.
Is very high skill cap. Fucks up your team comp. Doesn't have CC. It's just like a lot of red flags. It's like you need AP top or like heavy AP jungle. If you fall behind in lane, you're worthless. You usually have to get roams off. Like sometimes you can just like survive off just like solo killing the enemy laner, but that's also like a pretty big if. You're pretty terrible at team fighting, and you can't take TP, and you're a split pusher. It's just like a bunch of red flags.
Yeah. So then, like, Echo, Vel'Koz, Orianna are 3 good ones?
Orianna's pretty good. Yeah, Echo is a little like I wouldn't like straight up recommend it, but it's clearly something you've played a lot and you're already comfortable on the mechanical side, so that's not a problem. So that's fine. Don't know as much about Vel'Koz. He's kind of like a weird in between where it's like he's a champion that's really good if he just sticks in the lane and farms, and you can just like it's really hard to like do anything to him if you manage waves properly. But at the same time, he's also like kind of weird because he has a lot of skill shots that if you miss, your champion value just like plummets. So I think he's like on the fringe, but if you like him, then you can definitely try and make him work.
Would you recommend any mid laners for me to start playing?
Let me look at a champ list. There's too many champions to recommend off the top of my head. Let me see here. Aside from the 3 you play already, I don't think you necessarily need to pick anything up. As far as just like champion strength goes, like Ryze is like really strong on this patch. Talia is pretty strong on this patch. But like I think like just the champions you play, you seem comfortable on, and like as long as you just like implement like the things that are consistent, just like wave control, map vision, and just like cheating to a side, and just like you implement that on top of like what you've already been doing because you seem like mechanically fine and you seem comfortable on your champs, then I think you'll be okay. I don't think you necessarily need to pick anything up, but as far as like just like power picks go, like if you just want like one mage in your pool, like instead of Orianna or like in addition to Orianna, then like Talia or like Ryze are both like really strong on this patch. The thing about mid lane is there's a lot of like weird fringe picks that you can just like make work if you want to. Because like there's like the good mid laners, like the very best mid laners, they're like Talia and like Ryze and stuff, and then there's just like a whole bunch of like champions that are like decent that you can just like make work if you put enough time into them. Whereas like I'd say like Echo falls into that tier, like Vel'Koz falls into that tier. There's a bunch of champs like Kassadin, like Malzahar, maybe not Karthus, Cassiopeia. Corki's a little bit more fringe because he doesn't really do anything until 3 items. Like Xerath is another like Vel'Koz type champion if you get really good at. Swain is, I guess I'd recommend Swain. That's because that champion is like really broken right now and he's like really, really simple mechanically. You can't really fuck up on him. I'm not sure how often he gets banned, but that's, I guess if I had to just straight up recommend one, it'd be him. He's like very simple and very, very strong at the moment. And I guess he kind of fits into your pool too because he's like more of like a consistent champion than any other ones you play right now. Just off like a just strictly like champion kit is just like really consistent. But yeah, that's about it.
And how do you feel about Cassiopeia or Anivia?
I would stay away from. I'd stay away from both, honestly. They're like not bad champions, but they're just like you need to put a lot of investment into those champions. And like you would get like pretty similar output, I feel like, to some of the champions you already play. So it's just not worth the effort. Might as well just brush up on the champions you already do play and just like clean up the fundamentals on those.
Okay. And then have you heard about like the tournaments at the Microsoft stores?
Sort of.
Yeah, I like go to those every weekend, and we all know each other there, and a lot of times they'll just ban out my 3 main champions. So I was always just looking for more to play.
I see. I mean, do you play like one? Is it like 1v1s or is it like Just 5v5s?
It's 5v5s. You can bring your own team. You can find people there or whatever.
Interesting. I just play Swain. Really. Swain is really, really good. Yeah, just as far as like power picks go, like Swain, Rise, and Talia are probably like really close up there, like top 3 right now. And then, like I said, there's just a bunch of champions that like they're like decent and you can make them work as long as you put time into them. But like some take more than others, and like at the end of the day, like the output you get out of them, it's like relatively the same. Like if you're really like playing assassins, then I guess you can just look into like Fizz and Kassadin or something. Neither of them are like top of the table picks right now, but they're both like definitely like workable. If you're just looking for like an assassin, I honestly wouldn't bother with Zed. That champion is really, really. I don't want to say like terrible, but he's very bad for the amount of effort you have to put into him. Anything else?
I think that's about it. Yeah.
All right. If you want to schedule again, just hit me up. I really do appreciate. You've been. I think you've one of the longest like Patreon supporters at this point. So I really do appreciate all the support.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I said, if you want to schedule again, you have any questions about anything in particular, just hit me up on Discord and we'll get something sorted out.
For sure.
No problem, man. See you around.
Later.